how are you today? Today we're just going to look at a quick video on how to model threads on objects that you either want to machine or 3D print. So let's get started. This is just one I drew up just earlier just to show you some examples of the different threads and pictures and things that you can do. So what do we start with? We'll just get rid of this body here by clicking the eyeball over on the side there. Now we're just going to start simple as simple. We'll just start with a cylinder, and we'll just zero our home again, and we'll just start here. I'm just going to go a 20mm cylinder by 100 millimeters long. Okay, 20mm diameter, 100 millimeters long. Now, if you come over here on the left in the create box, the create column where you can see that, scroll down till you see thread, click thread, and it brings up a little thread box. So click on the object that you want to thread, like that. Now you can see it's given a pretty faint looking type thread on it, and it's automatically fitted the thread to the size of the cylinder. So I did a 20mm diameter cylinder, and it's given me a 20mm thread, like a metric thread. Now let's start from the top here. So if we hit modeled, which is what you want to do if you're printing, so hit modeled, and it will actually give you the thread modeled in that. What's the word for that? Oh, I'm running out of words already, and I've only just started. Right. So if you want to print it, you've got to have modeled selected. Otherwise, if you don't, it'll just not print the thread. It's pretty much as simple as that. So select modeled. Now we come down to full length. Now the full length is how far the thread goes down the object. So if we just unclick full length, then it gives us a few more options here to sort of play with the thread a little in how far distance we want or where we want the thread to start. So we'll just go with the offset first. I'll just move this in a bit so you can see. Right, so if I hit 20mm offset, it'll start the thread 20mm up, like that. Now if you're machining this thread for something and you want to have a bearing on either end, that's probably a good idea, because you could then move the length of the thread, and I'll just adjust the length to 80. Right, sorry, we'll change that to 60 because that's math works a bit better. And now you have a thread in the middle, and not that you can get a nut on it because diameter is larger than the thread, but this is just an example of what you can do. So we'll take the offset back to 0, and we'll just leave the thread length at 60. And then you come over here and you have all your thread types. And you can see this here: Acme thread, BSP pipe thread, GB metric, GB pipe threads, JLS pipe threads, inch tapping threads. There's a whole range of options in here. I'm in Australia and we just use ISO metric. Is a pretty standard thread for everything we do here, but you can select whatever you like over here. And then the next one, class G, we won't worry about that for now, and the direction. So do you want the thread as a normal right hand thread or as a left hand thread? So if you were doing like a turnbuckle or something similar and you wanted a nut on this end and then you wanted a right hand thread on the other end, so when you turn this shaft it tightens or loosens the turnbuckle setup, that's where you'd print or machine a right or a left hand thread. So we'll just go right hand thread and then hit OK. So there we have a thread modelled, and I just like to give my drawings a bit of colour. So we'll just drag a colour over there. And if you want to know how to do colour, I'll give you a quick rundown. So I'm on a Mac, so I just push the letter A for appearance. It brings up a whole chart down here of whatever you like. Metal, glass, liquid, paint, all sorts of stuff. So if we go to say metallic paint, and I want to do it, start with the green. Green looks pretty good. Now if I want to change it, I can hit green, double click it, and I can drag the little thing around here to change the color, or I can drag the slide bar around. Some colors I find easier to see on the screen, like a bright color. I'll find it easier than just the dull example, like the dull grey, you know. So quite like the gold, looks pretty good. And that's how you do a thread. Now if you want to do an internal thread, we'll just use this here as the example. So I want to do an 8 mil metric internal thread. So we'll just start with a hole, hit C for circle, put it in the center, bring it out to 8 mil. Now there's two ways you can do this. So we'll just go this way to start with, and we'll just extrude that by -30. Okay, so now we have a hole there, and we'll come up to the thread option in the create bar, select thread. Now select the face that you want the thread on. So we want the thread on the inside, so you can see how that highlights. So we'll do that, and it comes over here, and it will automatically adjust the thread to suit the diameter of the hole. So it's gone to an 8 by 1.25 thread, and there's a few options here in 8 mil. You can have like quite down to quite a fine thread if you want a fine, or 8 by 1. 8 by 1 and 8 by 1.25 are probably the most common. And then we hit modelled, and then hit OK, and you'll see you have an 8 mil thread in the hole there. Now if I just go, I'll just go with the back arrow just to take me back a few steps, like that. And now we'll do the other way of doing a thread. So you push H for hole, so H on this surface. Now over in this chart here, we leave basically the hole type as that, as the simple. We do the hole tap type as tapped, and then these two other windows will come up, and we leave them as they are. Now the depth of the thread is this one here, so 50 mil deep. You can choose whatever dimension you want. So we'll just go back to 30, and now we want to choose a thread size. So we'll choose a thread on this chart. Now keep in mind that this cylinder that I drew was only 20 millimeters in diameter. So we'll just go a 10 mil thread, and then come down to this bottom box and hit modelled, and just double check that you've got the right thread. So we've got metric, and again you can open up that same window for different types. 10 mil, 10 by 1.5, it's a right hand thread. And if I just square us up on the cube, you'll see that if I click and drag this, it'll automatically snap to that center point. Hit enter, and you have a thread that way. And that's pretty much the basics of threading. There's a lot more you can do with it, but hopefully that gives you a good start. Now, if you want to print these threads, I'm not very good on the 3D printing side of things. I only have an entry-level printer, and I have printed threads before just to try it. Just mess with your settings a bit on your printer to try and get it. Try and get it as fine as you can. I found that if I printed that as it was now, it'd be just a tad too tight to screw in to a 20mm nut. But then I've printed other stuff that has come up and worked straight away. So I'm not sure if it's my printer. I know there's people out there that do, you can sort of modify these faces a little on the thread, but that might be another video to go in depth with that when it comes down to printing. So hopefully that helps you get some threads going. Now, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. Thank you.